more people tested positive for COVID-19. Curfew imposed on 5 districts in Northern Province extended. People barred from leaving their respective districts. 790 people who violated curfew arrested. A special program to distribute essential items, including food and fuel, established.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. Now the total number of confirmed COVID-19 patients in the country has risen to 81. We have the breakdown issued by the National Epidemiology Unit as at 5 p.m. today, and as at 5 p.m. the total number stood at 77. 70 out of the 77 are being treated at the IDH, while 7 cases were from the Valikanda based hospital. To take a look at the breakdown today, the distribution of COVID-19 patients were reported from Colombo, 16 patients, Gampaha 10 patients, Putlam 6, Kaluthara 4 patients, Ratnapura 3 and 1 patient each from Kurunagala, Gaul, K-Gaul, Batiklo and Badulla. 31 patients are in quarantine centres, 3 are foreign tourists from China, India and France. Now, taking a look at the breakdown when it comes to the distribution according to the age, the majority of patients are between the ages of 41 and 50 with a percentage of 32.1. 31 to 40 years, 19.2 patients, while 17.6% of patients are 51 to 60 years of age. Now, patient distribution according to the gender, majority of the COVID-19 patients in the country are male with a percentage of 69. 31% of patients are female. A decision has been made to provide COVID-19 patients with chloroquine, a medicine used for malaria patients upon the advice of a physician when required.
The Ministry of Health said that chloroquine cannot be used to prevent a person from being affected by COVID-19. Accordingly, Director General of Health Services Dr. Anil Jasinger urged the public to refrain from going in search of this medicine. The Ministry of Health said that this medicine would be provided at hospitals for affected patients only when required upon the advice of a doctor. State Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Corporation has commenced the production of this medicine to supply it without any shortage. Specialist doctors have instructed to provide this medicine only for those affected by COVID-19. Do not use this medicine without the advice of a specialist doctor. This medicine has been used to cure malaria. The production of this medicine has recommenced now after it was stopped in 2013. The decision was taken by the Food and Drug Administration body of the US, drew the attention of several countries. Accordingly, a team of specialist doctors appointed by the Director General of Health Services had decided to provide this medicine to COVID-19 patients. Chloroquine, which is used in treating malaria patients, has been recommended to treat only those affected by COVID-19. Accordingly, the Medical Supplies Division received an order of 500,000 tablets for a day. We are producing 80 other pharmaceutical drugs in addition to chloroquine. We will supply them without any shortage. The Health Ministry warned that strict action will be taken against pharmacies which sell this drug without a valid prescription from a specialist doctor.
The island-wide curfew imposed by the government will be lifted for 8 hours tomorrow, except for 5 districts in the Northern Province and the Colombo, Gampaha and Putlam districts. The curfew, which will be lifted at 8 a.m., will be imposed at 12 noon.
Issuing a statement, the President's Media Division said that the curfew imposed in Nimana, Vaunia, Muletivu, Kilinochchi and the Jaffna district have been extended until 6 a.m. on the 24th of March. The curfew, which will be lifted at 6 a.m., will be reimposed at 2 p.m. on the same day. Further, the residents of these districts would also be barred from leaving their respective areas. The ban has been imposed after a pastor from Switzerland who attended a church service in the northern region this month was tested positive for COVID-19. The ban will be in effect until all the people who had contact with the pastor are identified. Meanwhile, the curfew imposed in the Colombo, Gampaha and the Puttalam district has been extended until 6 a.m. on the 24th of March. The President's Media Division said that the curfew in these districts will be reimposed at 2 p.m. on the same day. The government has issued instructions to close down all liquor stores in the country even after the curfew is lifted. The police has been instructed to ensure that farmers are allowed to continue their agricultural activities without any hindrances.
The curfew, which will be lifted at 6 a.m. in the morning, except for the 5 districts in the northern province and the Colombo, Gampa and Puntland districts, will be reimposed at 2 in the afternoon. Now, 790 people were arrested for violating the curfew as of this evening. According to the police headquarters, 154 vehicles in total, including motorcycles and three-wheelers, were also seized. 3 people who were inside a wine store located in Kalugala Road in Kegol were arrested today. They are to be produced before the Kegol magistrate tomorrow. 8 people who were carrying out an illegal gem mining racket in Bogawantalawa, Hatton during the curfew were arrested this morning. An individual who was driving a three-wheeler under the influence and 4 more people who were travelling with him were arrested in the Bogawantalawa police division. A person was arrested for the possession of 68 bottles of alcohol in Domagastalawa, Navalapitiya. According to our correspondent, the stock of alcohol was stored in a secret room in his house when it was discovered by the police. Meanwhile, 10 foreign nationals who were surfing on the coastline of Midigama Gaul were released after being arrested. According to our correspondent, they have arrived in the country from Netherlands, Russia and Argentina. This is the manner in which a group of people who were out on the streets in Muttur, Trincomalee ran off from police officers who were patrolling the area. This is how the people of Kalmune Ampara who were trying to evade the police were recorded on the CCTV cameras. Meanwhile, a group of people has attempted to acquire lands near the Pothivil temple during the curfew. Although our correspondent has inquired them of their actions, they have failed to respond.
In some places, the people have ignored our instructions to avoid parties and public gatherings during the curfew. We have arrested all those who are in groups. Therefore, the curfew is not an ordinary curfew. An ordinary curfew requires the people to refrain from going outside. However, the objective of this curfew is to make sure that the people stay inside their homes. Vehicles, motorcycles, bicycles and three-wheelers used for travelling during this period would be seized. We have instructed police officers to patrol around main roads as well as by roads to arrest all those who violate the curfew and to take legal action against them. The seriousness of this disease is that it could be transmitted to 4,006 people from one individual within a month. We request only one person from each household to purchase essential goods when the curfew is lifted. That person should travel to stores alone and avoid being in groups. The goods should be purchased by maintaining a distance of 1 meter from each other. Upon returning back home, they should wash their clothes or dry them in the sun and clean themselves immediately. If that is done, we can ensure the safety of everyone and assist in achieving the objectives of the curfew. We saw how people flocked to the shops to purchase essential goods once the curfew was lifted. We request traders to refrain from unnecessarily encouraging customers to visit their shops. If there are long queues at shops, the distance between 2 people should be at least 1 meter. At the same time, facilities must be available for customers to cleanse their hands with soap and sanitizers at the entrance to the shop. The public health inspectors will inspect shops which will be opened for business once the curfew is lifted in certain areas tomorrow. If necessary, we will take legal action against those who do not abide by the regulations.
The Presidential Secretariat announced that airport arrival terminals will remain closed, while departure terminals will be open to contain the spread of the COVID-19. The Secretariat added that the container terminal in the port will remain opened, ensuring import and exports are carried out without any disruptions. Meanwhile, no cruise ships carrying passengers are allowed to anchor at the port until further notice.
The Minister of Health and Indigenous Medicine, Pavitra Vanniyarachi, had issued a Gazette notification articulating that the coronavirus is a quarantine ailment. The Gazette notification has been issued in line with the powers vested with the Minister under the Quarantine and Prevention of Diseases Ordinance. Meanwhile, the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission, on the directive of the President, has instructed all telecom, mobile and direct-to-home and cable TV operators to continue services for post-paid customers, providing an extended grace period for payment dues which may arise, and to provide emergency credit facilities for prepaid customers at the period where connectivity is imperative for information dissemination in the fight against COVID-19. The examination department issuing a statement notes that the results of the ordinary level examination will not be issued this month, as the compiling of the results has come to a standstill given the prevailing situation in the country. The department notes a later date would be notified in due course once the situation in the country eases. Meanwhile, the Colombo Stock Exchange will not be open for trading tomorrow and the day after, the reason which has been cited in the extension of the curfew for Colombo, Gampaha and Kaludara districts until Tuesday at 6 a.m. Meanwhile, the government has granted a grace period until the 31st of March for customers to settle their unpaid electricity bills. In order to ease the difficulties faced by people when paying their bills, we have granted them a grace period until the 31st of March. There is no problem for those settling their bills through banks and using online methods. The others can settle their bills after the 31st of March. I have instructed the Ceylon Electricity Board to avoid disconnecting power supplies for those who have not paid their bills during this time period.
Now, with the lifting of the curfew in some areas of the country tomorrow, the government has urged the public to refrain from unnecessary stockpiling of essential items such as food, as there is no shortage in the country. Issuing a statement, the President's Media Division said that the arrangements have been made for the distribution of vegetables and other essential goods without any delay.
Although the curfew is in effect, essential goods are being supplied to supermarkets, Satosa outlets and other stores, including those in farther areas. Therefore, I feel that the consumer will not have to experience any difficulties. The people will be able to purchase the required goods. However, we recommend the public to avoid purchasing excessive amounts of essential items. If that happens, then the other consumers will not be able to meet their requirements. Since this situation will exist only for a few days, there is no need to stockpile goods sufficient for several months. We saw that people had panicked when purchasing goods from supermarkets. Do not make such a situation happen.
The government has decided to open all economic centres in the country for business during the curfew period. This statement was made by the Minister of Provincial Councils and Local Government, Janaka Bandara Tennakon, at a media briefing held in Dambulla today. Permission has been granted through a special gazette issued under the instructions of the IGP to allow farmers to bring their produce to any economic centre located island-wide. Farmers can bring their produce even during the period in which curfew is still in effect. A special program to disinfect the Special Economic Centre in Dambulla also took place today prior to commencing operations. Meanwhile, Minister S.M. Chandrasena visited the Economic Centre in Tamuttegama today to look into the commencement of operations at the centre.
Curfew restrictions will not affect farmers. Farmers can bring their produce to economic centres at any time. Selling their produce can be resumed as soon as the curfew is lifted. There is no issue. The police is aware of this and all arrangements have been put in place by the government. Solutions to issues pertaining to the transportation of rice were provided during a media briefing held today. The meeting was held at the Polonnaruwa District Secretary's office between large-scale mill owners and the Polonnaruwa District Secretary.
There is no ability for us to stop production even though curfew has been imposed. We cannot stop the supply of food to the people, neither can we stop the distribution, because if that happens, we will not be able to provide people with essential services even when curfew is lifted. The government has notified all authorities to provide provisions to continue the production of rice. Although many decisions are taken, there is a lacuna in communicating them. I expect a proper program to be set in place for issues such as transportation of paddy, opening shops to sell rice and reaping paddy. In my opinion, production would have reduced by 50% over the past 2 days. Our lorries had been stopped somewhere near the Millate area. It is only when I spoke to the senior superintendent of police and he intervened that the lorry was allowed to carry on its journey. There was an issue when obtaining curfew passes to travel to other districts, but now it has been resolved. Anyone can obtain a curfew pass now. If there are any companies which deploy 40 to 50 trucks at once, let me know. I will arrange a police officer who will provide multiple curfew passes. If there are issues in bringing workers, I will resolve that as well. I have issued directives to all OICs in that regard. Do not think curfew will be a hindrance.
The All Ceylon Bakery Owners Association says that the government has approved the sale of bread under certain conditions. Yesterday, the government informed me via a phone call to formulate a mechanism to supply bakery products such as bread through mobile bakeries to a certain extent instead of selling it at shops during the curfew. Therefore, I am informing all bakery owners regarding this. These mobile bakeries cannot be parked for a long time. The vendors should go from door to door while wearing a cap, a face mask and hand gloves. They should not hand over the food using bare hands. All Ceylon Bakery Owners Association, we request the owners of all bakeries to follow these regulations and supply the product to the people.
Now, the Sri Lanka Medical Association has requested the President to take immediate measures to prevent public gathering at supermarkets and retail outlets after the curfew is lifted tomorrow and the day after.
In a letter to the President, the SLMA said that the benefits achieved by imposing the curfew will be undone if people gather in large numbers to purchase essential items such as food. Accordingly, the SLMA proposed a mechanism to distribute dry rations and other essential items among low-income earning households. The letter cited an example of which packs containing essential items could be delivered in high-risk areas such as Colombo, Puttalam and the Gampaha districts for a concessionary price with the support of the Tri-Forces. The letter reads, quote, "If this is done, curfew can be continued to get the maximum benefit of it in curtailing the spread of COVID-19 infections," end quote.
The Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited, also known as CPSTL, said that fuel will be distributed without any hindrance across the country from tomorrow onwards. According to the chairman of the CPSTL, Uwais Mohammed, fuel sufficient for the coming 20 days have been stored. According to the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited, a special procedure is in place for the distribution of fuel, and due to the lack of demand, fuel will be supplied without any complications.
We have kerosene oil, petrol and diesel sufficient for 20 days. The most important thing about everything else is furnace oil. We have to supply furnace oil to power plants, harbours and hospitals. We have ample stocks to supply. We hereby state with responsibility that we are able to supply anywhere within 24 hours. We own 11 depots. Everything has been topped up in each and every one of those depots. Also, we have been in touch with the railways department. The stocks that will be transported through train bogies will start from next morning. Therefore, there is no need to panic. We have ample supplies. This is the number of the chairman. Call this number and raise your concerns. They will direct you to the relevant division and solve your problem.
The Department of Government Information has issued a list of basic steps that should be followed by the public when the curfew is lifted. Use public transportation only if it is an essential matter. Maintain a distance of 1 meter between two people at all times. Travel to the shop that is nearest to your house if you want to purchase essential items. Ensure that only one person travels to the shop. Follow the instructions provided by health authorities at all times. Ensure that the elderly remain within the house. Limit the time spent within the shop when purchasing essential items. Manager or owner of the shop, along with the security forces, must ensure that a large number of people are not allowed into the shop at once. Maintain a distance of 1 meter between two people within the shop. Ensure that you follow health guidelines when you enter the house after traveling outside. Now, these are the list of basic steps that you and I should take when the curfew is lifted tomorrow and the day after. Moving on to more local news, the Ministry of Foreign Relations says that all Sri Lankans who undertook a religious pilgrimage to Dambadiva in India have been brought back to the country.
When groups of pilgrims returned to the country in batches, the final two groups arrived in the country last night and this morning. 298 pilgrims returned to the country at 10:15 from New Delhi last night, while 97 arrived from China this morning. All pilgrims were sent to the quarantine centres upon arriving in the country. The Sri Lanka Army said that they are being quarantined in Jaffna and Mullaitivu.
A program to spread awareness of a pilot project to ensure the safety of health officers from the fast-spreading COVID-19 took place today.
The awareness program was centered around the MOH office of Natandia. When an individual shows symptoms of the virus, he or she would visit the doctor or health officer straight away. This is a huge threat to the doctor as well as everyone at the hospital, as they are directly exposed to the virus. If you cannot contact us prior to visiting the hospital, we request such patients to tie a red band on your right hand above the elbow before entering the hospital. So when the hospital staff sees you with the red band, they can identify that you are a risky patient before treating you. Various measures are currently being implemented to curb the spread of COVID-19 at state institutions and locations where people gather regularly. This is how the Maravilla police accepts complaints at present.
Today, we have a very special message for you. Chaturanga Hapuarachi will now join us from the Newsfirst studios.
Today we are all afraid and worried, and that concern is understandable. The world and all of us here in Sri Lanka are faced with an unprecedented challenge. Life, as we know it, has changed. If we look around us, we will notice how nature is coming back. Around the world, how birds are singing again in cities. Animals that were not seen for decades are now being seen in areas that were crowded with people. In Sri Lanka, we constantly see the devastation caused to nature, most often by those with political connections. We see the impact on our wild elephants, the impact on our leopards, the state of our rivers, our lakes and streams, our beautiful forests. Nothing is spared by those we have trusted to take care of our nation. Today, many of our rural villages are faced with the human-elephant conflict. An animal that we have cohabited with for thousands of years has today become one of our biggest enemies. Why? Because we took away its home. Because we destroyed its habitat in the name of development. As much as we use this time to be safe and protect our families and ourselves from this virus, let us also use this time to reset how we think about the future, how we think about the country that we want to live in. We are an ancient nation and an ancient people. We have traditions and culture passed down to us by our ancestors. We have got through much worse, and we will get through this as well. But it starts with us. It starts with abandoning our prejudices and embracing what we can achieve as a united nation. The coronavirus doesn't care what race you belong to. It doesn't care what religion you believe in. It only cares that you are a human being. And that is also our strength. We are one family, and together we can fight this and carry our nation forward. We can and we must.
Main sponsor.
The government has instructed all those who arrived in the country from the 1st to the 15th of March to visit the public health officer of their area or the closest police station to take precautionary measures when it comes to COVID-19. If authorities identify individuals who have not adhered to these instructions, the government has decided to take legal action under the Prevention Disease Ordinance. Joining us on our special situation report this morning, former Test cricket captain Kumar Sangakkara explained the steps he took following his visit to London.
Yes, I am under self-quarantine. I have no symptoms or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I am following government guidelines. I arrived from London over a week ago, and the first thing, there was a news bulletin saying anyone that has traveled from within March 1st to 15th have to register themselves with the police and undergo self-quarantine. I registered myself with the police station. They took all my details down. The very next day in the morning, I had a visit from the public health inspector. They came home, they recorded all my details again, and then I was asked to stay home without going anywhere for 14 days, and they check up on me every day. They either call my home line to ensure that I'm at home because if they call my cell phone, I can be anywhere and still answer the call. And they also visit and they do a visual check as to whether I'm at home. So I think it is our responsibility to cooperate with everything that the government, the Triforces, our health professionals and carers are doing to stop this virus. So I think everyone, it is not an easy thing to do, Shevan, because our lifestyles are such that we are a very outgoing people, but this is a national issue, a national cause. We have to make a sacrifice for the betterment of not just our country, but also our people. So this is time to really make sure that you practice your social distancing, stay at home, avoid crowds. And if you do that, you avoid spreading the disease. And that is the first step towards combating this.
President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, President's Council, Kalinginda Tesa, also joined us this morning.
The original Quarantine and Prevention of Diseases Ordinance was drafted in 1897. That is Ordinance number 3 of 1897. And thereafter, the ordinance has been periodically amended from time to time on 9 occasions. The last amendment was in 2005. In terms of section 3 and 4 of this ordinance, the minister has the power to form regulations or rules. They are called rules. Those rules are formulated by the minister in a situation as the situation that we are going through now at the moment. In an urgent situation, the minister can formulate rules. Those rule-making power of the minister is very wide. The minister can make different types of regulations covering aircrafts, vessels and boats to be placed in quarantine, placing people inside those aircrafts, vessels and boats in quarantine, prohibiting the laundry of any persons, isolating all cases of disease. The disease here, the term disease, has to be read with section 13 because these rules cater to 3 types of diseases: contagious, infectious and epidemic. Then what happens is, if the minister's rules and regulations, once they are formulated and once they are gazetted, if they are not observed by any person, then that gives the police the authority to arrest such person.
The curfew imposed by the government will be lifted tomorrow to some parts of the country and will be reimposed at 2 p.m. However, the curfew imposed in Colombo, Gampa and Putlam districts, also to the northern province, will be lifted on Tuesday. Now, with the lifting of the curfew tomorrow and the day after, the government has issued a list of 10 basic steps that you and I should follow when the curfew is lifted. Let me read out the steps to you once again. Use public transportation only if it is an essential matter. Maintain a distance of 1 meter between 2 people at all times. Travel to the shop that is nearest to your house if you want to purchase essential items. Ensure that only one person travels to the shop. Follow the instructions provided by health authorities at all times. Ensure that the elderly remain within the house. Limit the time spent within the shop when purchasing essential items. Manager or owners of the shops, along with the security forces, must ensure that a large number of people are not allowed into the shop at once. Maintain a distance of 1 meter between 2 people within the shop. Ensure that you follow health guidelines when you enter the house after traveling outside. Infectious diseases physician Dr. Sanjay Senanayake spoke about what precaution measures people can take when they remain at their homes.
Because you are all indoors, the chance of you mixing with people and getting an infection like COVID-19 is extremely unlikely. Now, to understand why we practice social distancing, one should think about how the virus, the SARS-CoV-2 virus that causes COVID-19 spreads. It spreads primarily through droplets that appear when someone coughs or sneezes. When that happens, these droplets of infections fall about 1.5 meters in front of that person onto various surfaces, be it a floor, a shelf, a table, etc. and you can get infected by touching those droplets on those contaminated surfaces. But it's not enough just to touch the droplets. Once they're on your hands, then you have to touch your mouth, your nose, or your eyes. So in other words, there's an opportunity with good hand washing or hand hygiene with the alcohol hand sanitizers to get the contaminants off your hand, to get the virus off your hand.
COVID-19 situation overseas. Now the death toll worldwide has risen to 13,049 with 307,280 infected by the virus. 6 new countries or territories have reported cases of COVID-19. 92,375 people have recovered so far. Italy ordered all but the most essential businesses to close until 3rd of April, tightening a lockdown against the coronavirus. In Italy, 4,825 people have died so far. Only yesterday, they recorded a death toll of 793.
The Russian military will send medical help to Italy in order to help it battle the new coronavirus after receiving an order from President Vladimir Putin. Meanwhile, India is to implement a curfew until the 31st of March due to the coronavirus outbreak. China's aviation regulator said that all international flights due to arrive in Beijing would be diverted to other airports as their first port of entry beginning on Monday, as the country steps up measures to battle the coronavirus. The Civil Aviation Administration of China said incoming international flights to Beijing would land at one of 12 other designated airports where passengers would be screened. Passengers who were cleared would be then permitted to reboard the plane, which would then take them to Beijing. Malaysia has deployed the army to enforce a 2-week curb on travel in a country that has the highest number of coronavirus cases in Southeast Asia, most of them linked to a masked religious gathering. The country has so far reported 9 deaths and 1,183 infections. Malaysia called in its army after some people continued to defy the restrictions that came into force on Wednesday. A 48-year-old doctor has died from coronavirus in Malaysia, becoming the first medical worker to die from the disease. Afghanistan has reported 10 new coronavirus cases in less than 24 hours, raising the total to 34. Singapore has decided to close its borders to all short-term visitors given the heightened risk of the coronavirus. The Ministry of Health says the measures are necessary because 80% of confirmed COVID-19 cases over the past 3 days came from overseas. Australia has closed beaches and is considering more draconian measures to get people to follow social distancing guidelines. Another Australian state is effectively closing its borders by requiring all entrants to undergo 14 days of quarantine. Exemptions will be made for freight, essential services and 2,500 critical staff in the mining and oil and gas industries who are based interstate but will be allowed to fly in. The Palestinian health authorities have confirmed the first 2 cases of coronavirus in the occupied Gaza Strip. The 2 people had recently returned from Pakistan. Ecuador's health minister stepped down just hours after authorities announced the number of confirmed cases had shot up to more than 500 with 7 deaths. The office of US Vice President Mike Pence says him and his wife have tested negative for the coronavirus. The couple took the test after one of Pence's staff was diagnosed with the virus. At least 38 people have tested positive for coronavirus in New York City jails. Turkey confirmed cases of coronavirus rose to 947 and the number of dead to 21. Health Minister Fratini Koka said 2,953 tests have been conducted in the previous 24 hours. The Philippines had reported 73 new coronavirus cases, bringing the total up to 380. Thailand reported 188 new coronavirus infections, its largest daily increase, taking the total up to 599 cases. The majority of the new infections are connected to a previous cluster of cases from a boxing stadium. 2 female nurses at a medical center in Japan have contracted the virus. Japan has 1,055 domestically transmitted cases, up by 40 from the previous day. The outbreak is gathering pace in Latin America. Colombia has reported its first death late yesterday. The victim was a 58-year-old taxi driver from the coastal city of Cartagena. South Korea reported 98 new coronavirus cases today, bringing the national infection up to 8,897.
Lorenzo Sanz, the president who led Real Madrid to the 1998 European Cup after a 32-year wait, has died at the age of 76 due to coronavirus.
Lorenzo Sanz was initially chosen to stay at home so as to not contribute to the saturation of Spain's health service, was admitted to the hospital after 8 days of fever. A test carried out there confirmed that he had contracted COVID-19. As well as respiratory problems, he suffered kidney failure because of an infection and died last night.
And that's a wrap of this edition of Primetime News for TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Azra Hassan. We would like to thank Brian De Cruz for interpreting our news broadcast for the differently able. Now, we leave you tonight with the little basic steps that you and I can take as precautionary measures to stop the spread of the COVID-19. Take very good care of yourself and good night.